2020. I want to thank you all for coming and supporting these amazing ladies that are going to be talking about the issues that are most important to them. I want to say a big thank you to our funders, PRS Foundation and Youth for Music, because without them, none of this would be happening. So I am Eva Davies, and I am a representative of Girls Do That Too, and I've been working alongside Tony from Come Play With Me to manage this event. So Come Play With Me are a development organisation who support people in going into sustainable careers in music, focusing on diversity. Girls Do That Too is a local Leeds promoter where we put on gigs celebrating women on stage and behind the scenes. So today we're going to kick off with the early careers panel with the wonderful ladies at the back. And afterwards we're going to have a talk from Faye Milton of Savages and Music Declares Emergency, and she's going to be talking about the ever-changing climate and the impact it has on the music industry. From then, we've got a panel on imposter syndrome, where they're all going to be talking about the issues of confidence and how that can impact them and how they've had to deal with that. And then finally, we have the Come Play With Me selection panel, where they'll be choosing the next 2 singles to be released on the 7-inch Singles Club. Just a bit of housekeeping. So for those of you who haven't been here before, the toilets are just through there. And if the fire alarm goes off, it's real, and there's a fire exit there and right at the back there. What else? There's 2 workshops, well, 1 workshop going on upstairs at the Snug Bar, an Ableton workshop being delivered by Lena, and you can sign up for that with the 2 ladies over there. There's 10 spaces available, and then there's also a Meet the Experts, which you can also sign up over there. There's 17 spaces, and you can talk to people who come from all corners of the industry. We've got journalists, music editors, producers, and performers. Final thing, the gig this evening, you can still get tickets online, but you can also get tickets on the door. We've got Big Joni headlining, Jen, and then also Luna Sounds. So, I would like to invite the ladies of the early careers to come up on stage and do their thing.
Are we on? Yes, we're on. How you doing? I need some more energy. Come on. This is Yorkshire. Come on. How you all doing today? I'm Shel Zenner. I work for BBC Introducing West Yorkshire, present on amazing radio and do a lot of other bits and pieces around the music industry. Massive music head. I'm very excited to be here today. Big love to Come Play With Me. Always so supportive to the music industry across the north and elsewhere as well. If you haven't checked out the magazine, go and have a look. It's always got brilliant content and photos in it. Photos, don't forget the photos. So we've got a great panel for you today talking about kind of early careers, how we got to where we did. So I could talk forever, you know that, but I'm just going to hand it over to my lovely panel to introduce themselves and tell us a bit about themselves. Starting with you.
Hi. I don't know if you can. Is that? I don't know.
You're on.
Hi. I should be used to using microphones by now, shouldn't I? I'm Lily. I'm the front person of a band called Frank, although we just changed our name to English Teacher.
Good plug.
Literally yesterday, yeah. Plug, get it in there. I started out as a function singer when I was like, I don't know, 13 or 14, and then I started writing music and started my band, and I'm here. And I do a lot of the managing of my band and the artwork for my band, so it's a very it's my thing. But yeah, and I also write for a magazine called Northern Life, doing music reviews and things like that, so that's me.
Hello, everybody. My name is Lina. My full name is Lina Hetta Tortonen. You don't need to pronounce that.
You.
I'm a Finnish person living in UK 7 years now. Live in York. I am a music producer, musician, and a YouTuber. Actually, today I got 1,000 subscribers full, so yes. I started like under a year ago, so that's a really good. I'm really happy about that. So I'm a lecturer at Leeds College of Music. I teach music production in there, and I do workshops in Ableton Live. And with that lovely lady there, we have an organization called Equalize, and we arrange Ableton Live courses for women in Yorkshire. And yeah, so I think that's about me, kind of summary.
Thanks, Lina.
My name is Maya. I'm from London. I am a music journalist and editor by trade. I've been a music journalist since I was about 16. I've written for Clash, DIY, The Line of Best Fit, all of the usual suspects that people tend to write for when they live in London. I am now the editorial manager of PRS for Music, which so I look after their members magazine, which is called M Magazine, which celebrates all of PRS for Music. It's 140,000 plus members. That's everyone from could be, Stormzy all the way through to Elton John and everyone in between and below, and previous to that, I was working at a company called Music Grounds. I was the editor of their online magazine, but also produced their live sessions and online content. So we shot with the likes of Lewis Capaldi a couple of years ago before he kind of skyrocketed, Hack Baker, Charlotte O.C., and lots of other cool artists like that.
I love Charlotte O.C. She's a proper babe
Amazing.
from Lancashire. Yeah. And on the end, we got Grace.
Hello, I'm Grace. I'm from Venus. I play the synthesizer. So I'm a classical pianist, but I'm in a rock band. But I did music production at Leeds College of Music. I just graduated. But yeah, I'm doing different workshops with vulnerable adults and children. And I want to eventually go into music therapy alongside Venus. But I run like the admin and stuff for Venus. I do all the emails. It's fun.
Not just the music, right? It's a business, isn't it?
Always sign off with warm regards.
Good tip right there. So how many people in the room are musicians? Quite a few. How many are producers? Yay! We need more of them, definitely. How many of you are writers? Oh, quite a few as well, yeah. And how many of you just work elsewhere in the music industry, like management or things like that? Okay. So that gives us a bit of a flavour of what we're dealing with today. So maybe we should focus on the kind of writing stuff and maybe the music making kind of stuff, which is really good if we've got people that are teaching people how to use Ableton, because I haven't got a clue. And frankly, that is really challenging. But there are some very supportive people here, aren't there?
And when you ask who does music production, who's interested of one day doing music production, yeah, that's a different number.
Yeah, that's what we want. What do we want to get out of today? Any big asks that you want to shout out first up that we can make sure we can focus on for you? Don't be shy. We're all friends. Making a living out of your music. That's right. That's the ultimate goal, right? Okay. So, where did you get? How did you get your first step into the industry? Starting off with Lily. I keep going, she's closest to me. It just makes sense, doesn't it?
That's fine.
So where did you get your first little opportunity?
Well, I started doing bits of music, like playing in pubs and stuff when I was quite young, and started getting paid for it a little bit and stuff. So that was like my first into the sort of industry side of it. But in terms of my own music, I released a demo that I sort of recorded and wrote and just released out to the world spontaneously. And then Emily, who's actually sat in here, she offered me a gig. And after that, I didn't have a band at that point, actually, and I just grabbed some friends and was like, do you want to do this? Should we try? And I had a month to get it together. And yeah, since then, things have just sort of kept going.
So you kind of met up with people in your local scene, built a little community, supported each other.
Definitely. I think the local scene is like the main thing that's kind of got us to have opportunities, like meeting other bands as well, and like talking to people and like making friends in the scene. It's definitely like the main way of like, I don't know, getting better opportunities and things.
Where have you found the best places locally to meet people? And
I love Broodnell Social Club. That's like one of my main places to just going to gigs there. There's always good gigs there. Also, it's really cheap. It's really accessible. Like, I think it's a really good place to hang out and meet interesting people. Also, going to music college, there was a lot of people like to speak to because that's where I met my band. I went on a trip with them. Where else? There's so many. I think places like here as well, High Pop Book Club. Like, I think going to venues and going to other people's gigs and talking to people at gigs and going to events that are specifically tailored at networking as well is really good. Although I should do more of that. I'm a bit of a hermit, but yeah.
I think Music Leeds really do a lot of networking events that are really quite good to keep your eyes peeled. Especially there's the Yorkshire Women Sound Women Network as well, which are really good for like if you're looking to do production. But Lena is definitely very experienced in not only making music but also teaching as well, aren't you? Do you find that the music education like is a way for people to come together, like meetings of minds?
Yeah, absolutely. I think generally music education can be a really good way of revenue to get actually your career started. And I think that was quite interesting point when I was of like starting to earn a living and stuff. I have quite different, almost like an opposite story to you, from like starting up my like starting to actually earn money from it. Because I feel like as much as I'm a really social person, I've never been one of these who's found the right people to work with. I don't know if if you ever feel that, like you hear other people finding bands and finding people to collab, and you're like, why can't I find that? And then I always been that person, but also I think I'm quite picky, who I trust and who I always start up with working with people, but then it doesn't work out, and that way. So I think for me, like what happened just be over a year ago, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna start a YouTube channel, right? I decided I'm not gonna tell my husband, I'm not gonna tell my family, I'm not gonna tell anyone, I'm gonna just start it up. And I put so much effort to like alone, and it's a lot like things that you need to do alone. So you need to put yourself out there alone, you need to start up everything by yourself. But then that gave me the courage to start up also my first workshop alone. Then I found a person to do workshops with who I actually trust, and I figure out, okay, that's how it works out. But so to get kind of career and money out of that, I only started now to work full time in music and get paychecks in the last year. And I would say my first, like, to actually earn money, I would say the last half a year being, and I would say it's because I have something to show. I have YouTube now to kind of give that platform for myself. I have a catalog of showing who I am, and I think because of that, now it's just getting bigger. Like, I'm getting more and more job opportunities because I have something to show. And I think that's been kind of my path to, even though I've done music all my life.
I think it's about like a rolling CV, like seeing your social media as like a rolling CV of content, isn't it? Like, you know, I put songs out on my Instagram every day called Zenna Singer. You know, I have different showcases, different blogs. I mean, it must be nerve-wracking actually sitting behind a camera. Like, I talk for a living, and I don't know how I'd put myself on YouTube. I mean, it must have taken some real guts to do that and get yourself teched up, know how to do it all, video editing, everything else around it.
So I started with my iPhone, and I started with iMovie, starting to do this. And what we were just talking a little bit before this is that I stopped asking validations. I've published an album as a musician before, and I send it to my friends and family, and they're the ones who don't listen to it. Your friends don't listen to the stuff that you're like, you put so much effort to it. Then I published my, and then, every kind of song that I did, those friends and those who supposed to be my biggest fans, they didn't do it. So I decided I stopped asking validation about everything. I stopped showing it to my husband. I stopped showing it to my friends and family until they see me on YouTube and until they see that I post it on Facebook. That's where they're like, oh, you're doing this. This looks cool. But like that's how it helped me to start it. Because it was horrible, and getting comments on the first day of like, cool synth, but I like your tits more. Like that. Those like starting to kind of getting used to that, because I still get that almost every week and almost every day now. So I feel like now I can go to my, like, get the support from my husband and, like, get the courage to do that. But the initial courage needed to come from me, of just starting it up and not asking validation, because if you ask validation, you're not going to get the reaction that you are expecting to get.
I think that's a really important point. Does anybody else have that kind of really worried about what other people will think, that other people will judge? Maybe you think that your content's not good enough, so you're worried about putting it out there. Don't. If you don't put it out there, nobody can hear it. Nobody can see what you're doing.
Just to jump in on that, I put off putting out my music for ages. I had the songs written for like 2 years, and then one day I was just like, it doesn't matter if people don't like it. I can continue making more music, and it's like, and then one day you'll actually put it out there, and you'll realize that it's as long as it's good and you've put your time into it and you've tried your best with it and you enjoy it yourself, chances are someone else is going to as well. So.
Absolutely.
Likewise, actually, I remember a ex-boyfriend found a blog that I'd started, and I was absolutely mortified. When I was about 17, and he called me up and quoted some of the embarrassing shit that I'd written on. Can I swear? Sorry. Some of the embarrassing stuff that I'd written on the blog, and I was absolutely mortified. That was my at the beginning of my first kind
That's
of introduction.
That's how you started out?
Well, I mean, me and my friends used to go down to this bar in Camden where we got involved with some promoters, and they were putting on kind of like open mic nights loosely, and we just wanted to be involved in any kind of way. So I would take my stepdad's camera and take photographs of the bands. We would try and promote it on Facebook, i.e. just sort of sharing posts and that kind of thing. But it was there that I met some other writers, and basically just thought they were the coolest people that I'd ever met. Off the back of that, got a couple of weeks' work experience at Enemy magazine, which was also, at the time, the coolest thing in the world. Managed to blag my way into the 2013 Enemy Awards somehow. I say somehow, it's because I befriended the editor's PA's son and managed to get in that way. And then kind of saw the goings on and just thought became obsessed with being part of the industry. And after that, just furiously wrote for blogs for free until someone wanted to pay me for it, essentially.
That's honing your skills, though. I always think that you never know where you're trying to go path-wise, but everything you're doing for a reason and may impact on what happens in future.
Absolutely, and I think it's about looking at the things that you know you're good at. So English was always a strong point. That was one of my strengths, and I thought I know I want to work in music, and so music journalism obviously just came naturally after that. But in the beginning, I didn't know that's what I wanted to do. I had people that I idolised and thought that they were amazing.
I mean, you obviously did, like you said, a couple of weeks' work experience. I mean, how common are those opportunities? And it's quite difficult if someone's in another job to try and take up something like that. So have you got any advice for people that want to get into, the written field? What's the best stepping stones to take?
I would say you just have to write and write and write. I've done countless internships where I was working in pubs during the day, and then working in pubs during the evening and interning during the day. So I would finish work, jump on a bus, go straight to my night shift at the pub. I've also had other jobs where on my lunch break I would write articles. I think you've just got to be prepared. For every article you're not writing, someone else who wants to be a music journalist is writing that article. It's a career that a lot of people want to be in, clearly.
Being hungry.
Yeah, absolutely. And just knowing that if you're not going to do it, someone else is going to be there to do it instead. And if you've got that talent, then you really just need to work and work and work.
There's definitely something to be said for keeping going as well.
Absolutely. Even when it's, you're exhausted and you've done a 12-hour shift over the World Cup in some horrible pub in East London, you've got to go home and meet a deadline for midnight. You just kind of, you've got to keep going and know that there is light at the end of the tunnel, and you won't always be writing for free.
I think Lena wants to jump in.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. It's like because people just say like work to get where you want to go, but then you're like, but how do I know when I'm working enough and stuff? And I feel like it's like what I've understood this year is that exactly what you said, is that I'm responsible of my career. Like I am responsible of my happiness. I'm responsible of what I become. So example, the fact that I decided I'm going to post every single Sunday of a year in YouTube, and I have posted. So it's like, if I would have missed one, I would have probably missed another. So I decided I'm going to post once a week, every Sunday, and so I did, and so it's leading to something, and that's exactly like you just need to do and work, and
Yeah, and I think it takes a certain level of self-discipline to make yourself do that, because you know there will be times where your friends are out or people have got their weekends, for example, and you don't have that luxury. But you know, it's realizing that the ultimate goal is to be in this position.
That's consistent content as well, though, and that they think that's the kind of way it works in radio and podcasting as well. You know, if you set an expectation out that there's going to be a new episode every Monday, if someone doesn't get that new episode on a Monday, you're in the shit, basically. So, yeah, you know, you've got to set a goal, haven't you? You've got to be dedicated, and you've got to keep going, because things don't necessarily happen overnight.
And deadlines are beautiful things, although it doesn't seem like it at the time. If you have something to work to and someone breathing down your neck, it just really helps.
Yeah, some of us are really organised, and some of us are definitely last-minuters, aren't we? Yeah. Grace, tell us how you got into music, how you got into your little journey.
Well, I started playing piano when I was about 6. And I used to do ABRSM exams, and my God, if anyone's done ABRSM, feel the pain. But yeah, when I got into, like, I think it was like 12, I started to sort of give up. Realising that, like, everyone, like, that I was, like, all the music I was playing, it was just, like, a very similar set, like, obviously, ABRSM, all the pure boyos back from the 1800s, and I was just like, this is not for me. And then I actually was Schoenberg, like, I learned about Schoenberg, I was like, what, atonality, that's, like, pretty good, that. I was like, there's something about atonality and dissonance, and I was like, yeah. And for some reason I got into, like, music tech and production from that, because I could just, like, record loads of sounds and it sound dreadful, and I was like, that is great. Like, that is really good. But especially, like, from being from the northeast, there's a lot of, like, it's just very underfunded in all aspects, not only the creative art, everything else. Can't get anywhere past 6 p.m. Yeah, it's pretty good. But I got Audacity, I think, because it was free, and I just started experimenting with that, and did music tech at college alongside, like, my A-levels and things. And I joined a band, well, I was, like, one of the founding members. We were called Armpit and the Glitter Babies.
Love it.
So that was my birth route, and from that, like, we got quite a lot of attention, because there wasn't really, like, anything like that going on in Hartlepool, and people thought it was like, oh, something different, like, we like that. So it was from that, and then obviously I went to uni. I went to Leeds College of Music, did music production, and yeah, Armpit didn't last. 2 of them are now mums, so they've got babies and stuff, so they couldn't really keep up and go to uni and everything. Blah blah. But yeah, and then I met Venus. It was Grace Kelly, who was sorry she can't come today, but yeah, we used to live together, and she was like, I want to, like, start a band, and I want it to be, like, all females. Like, I think that'd be really cool. And she obviously, like, dibs me from there. We were just like, yeah, we'll do it together. And I think it was Grace put a post on Facebook just saying, like, looking for instrumentalists. And Gabby straight up was just like, yeah, like, I want to join. And Hannah, actually, our bassist, Grace had to, like, be like, please join our band. And she was like, I've got other commitments at the minute, I don't know. But she's like, please. And then finally she joined, like, she came to rehearsal. And Jess as well was a mutual friend of Grace's, so it all came together that way. And then from there, we've obviously been, like, gigging and recording. But yeah, and then I don't actually live in Leeds, so I get the megabus down, like, every 2 weeks or so, which is fun. If everyone's experienced the megabus. But yeah, just, like, doing what you can do, and I just try and talk to people on the street, in the bus, and somehow it always ends up coming up that I'm in a band. Just, yeah, talking to anyone that you can, who's polite, though. You don't want to talk to people who are rude.
Have you found anyone really interesting that's helped you in your journey, just from randomly, like,
yeah, on the
meeting
bus,
them?
actually. I was with my
Love this.
I was with my synth, and I was going to Elcon one day, and I just sat by this girl, and we just started chatting. I think she asked, like, what was in my box, my case. So I explained, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm in a band. And then she came to our first ever single launch. She just turned up, and then she was with this guy, and, like, introduced me and stuff. And I release, because I produce music as well, but it's like dream pop stuff and the weird experimental stuff. But it's it's on my SoundCloud. And he was like, yeah, I've played, like, all your stuff on, like, this little radio podcast thing, and like, he hasn't told me. It was really bizarre, and I was like, what? So yeah, I just had that little meet, and then she's came to a few other gigs and stuff, and we've just kept in contact from meeting on the bus. On the street as well, you know, the people who hand out leaflets. I just end up talking to them sometimes when I'm lonely, and I was talking to this guy, and it turns out he was in a band in Leeds. I should know their name, but they're doing really well, basically. And we were chatting the other day, so we were like introducing our bands and being like, "We'll come to your gig, and they'll come to ours." So yeah, I like to talk to strangers, but don't tell. Yeah, I don't. Obviously, don't be careful when you talk to strangers. I'm not like be like go out and talk to strangers, but yeah.
I think you should be working in PR or something. Sounds like you're doing a
Maybe, yeah.
brilliant job.
Yeah,
Spreading the
I think
word.
it's the Northeastern in me. It's just like they hear my accent and they're like, "Oh, I better talk to her. She doesn't sound threatening." I don't know. But yeah,
So obviously you've touched on a bit of your production work there as well. I mean, there was a few people in the room that said they really wanted to get into production. How do you start? What kind of kit can you get get hold of for cheap? What kind of software can you use that's pretty easy to use, that's pretty cheap or
so
free?
Audacity, because that's free. That was like my introduction. Or if you're lucky enough to have an Apple, GarageBand is a really good one. You can even get it on like iPhones and iPads now. Like we use them a lot in like workshops because it's really accessible, and there's like it's so good now, GarageBand. Whereas like back in the day it wasn't amazing. But yeah, Audacity was always really fun to use. And I used to just use my laptop mic. Really sick. Sounds great.
What, just recording stuff for your laptop?
Yes.
I think it's pretty good. I mean, I video edit in iMovie, which is free software on an Apple Mac as well. I mean, and you can film things on your phone. You can get there's a pretty good app. It's gone from my brain, but it's about 15 quid, but it's really good. It has a steady function, so if you're trying to do stuff, it's quite good.
Just add reverb as well. Lots of reverb.
If you're going for the dream pop sound.
If you do any mistakes, reverb's there. Just fix it from your laptop mic.
And
Yeah,
how do
just
you?
got lo-fi.
And how do you? What your best top? What's your top tip then for being, industrious and independent in music and being able to do stuff for yourself?
Just be nice to people. Yeah, and just set your own goals and things. Do what you can. Don't push yourself too hard, because obviously you need to make sure your mental health comes first and stuff. But just do what you can and set up projects, work with people that you like or you want to work with. Just keep trying and doing different things. Get mega buses. Just do it.
So don't put any barriers in the way. Just be open-minded.
Yeah, just be open-minded. Yeah.
Get yourself out there.
Yeah.
Speak to people.
Yeah.
Can do that on your local scene as well, or do you need to go out of your local scene to make those kind of opportunities?
Well, it's always good to be part of your local scene. We've kept my Hartlepool route, because I'm living there at the minute. Hartlepool's especially the northeast in particular, has been very supportive of our band. And I don't know if it's just because someone is doing it from the northeast and everyone's yes, they're root for you. But it's a really supportive scene. But it's also good. I am in it's a thing called Production Princesses. So that was through SoundCloud. So I don't know if people have heard of a girl called Claro. So she sort of made this group alongside a group of other girls. There's a girl called Lazy Girl, and it's just there's about 20 of us in it, and we just have a chat, and we're all from all over the world. There's a girl from Japan, there's people from California, New York, and then there's a couple of us from England as well. But yeah, we're from all over, and we just share our music and support each other. So I'm in that sort of scene as well. And then just as well online as well, you can make friends online. And what was it? I was in some sort of electronic email group where people talk. I can't remember what it's called. But as well, Equalizer is a good one. And getting in part of residencies actually, because that was a good way I started. Both sides now. I did the one with Shiva Fesharaki in February 2018. So that was sort of my introduction to more of a Leeds scene, because I met loads of just loads of different people in Leeds, and we worked together and collaborated. And that also gave me a fresh mind to go back to Venus and write with them, because we'd been just improvising and making noises for the past week. We just sat in the room. That's where Freaky Friday came from, because I was right, turn the lights off. And I just started making noises with my synth, and then Jess joined in, and then we were just sort of improvising, but we were we need to actually make a song from it, a rock song to go with Venus. But yeah, just I think sometimes being in a band, it's good to kind of get away from that, experiment alone or with other people, and sort of get a fresh mind to take back as well.
So for those that didn't catch that, Brighter Sound is an organisation that does have a programme called Both Sides Now, and occasionally residencies do come up. I think there was one that I went down to in Leeds where Beth Orton was writing songs and with a range of female musicians in Leeds, which was great. And I think Emily went to one that Bianca Gerald was heading up. There was one in Liverpool with Gweno. So it's just a way to really, it's quite competitive, I think, to get on there, isn't it? But it's a great experience of songwriting and learning from others and working together, I suppose.
Yeah, because I did the Anna Meredith one in Newcastle too. So I just stayed on my sister's couch. I do that a lot, just stay on people's couches. But that was another opportunity to meet people in the North East, and sometimes people commute as well. So there's a girl called Izzy Bull, and she's actually in Manchester, but she's originally from the North East. But we kept in contact, and then I've put on a night and had her play and stuff. So just keeping in contact with people as well from the residencies and keeping up with their projects and just being supportive of what they're doing is a good way to be as well. Just support other people, not just yourself.
Do you find that in writing, Maya, that, or you obviously got into writing because you met a group of like-minded people that were also writing? Do you keep in contact with a lot of people to try and, push your writing and your work further?
I think especially if you're going to be a freelancer, it's really important that you not only share your own work on things like Twitter, but you're also celebrating other people's work. It will go a long way if you are following like-minded writers or writers that you aspire to be like, editors that you admire, following them on Twitter, retweeting their latest commission or the latest article that they've put out, as opposed to just, plugging your own stuff constantly. But similarly, if you want to, you need to build a black book of contacts, even if it's, the amount of times I've said, want to go for a coffee over the past 10 years is countless. Even if you're not necessarily going to get something at the end of it, making those connections is really, really important. So then when it comes to people commissioning and they see your name pop up in their inbox, they're more likely to go for you or more likely to even open your email because it is, dog eat dog out there.
Always be open-minded about the coffee. My friend is a successful freelancer and said, you don't expect anything straight away, but when something arises, it might be in 6 months. She kind of tracked it and things would pop up work-wise 6 months later if she had made that connection and she'd, put herself out there. I think as women, we generally, I don't know if it's just me, I'm quite self-deprecating, and I feel like other people shout louder, they get the opportunities because they shout louder. And I think exactly what you were nailing there about not just plugging your own thing, telling other people well done, sharing other people's stuff. It looks so good on you to be doing that, and it helps build relationships.
Totally. And I think that women can be afraid of being annoying or coming across as annoying if you're landing in people's inbox, being scared to chase up a pitch if you've sent it and you've not had a response. People are worried that they're going to look like they're a nag, or people are going to be like, oh, you're so bloody annoying, blocked kind of thing. But, a lot of the time, especially from the editor's perspective, people are really, really busy. And a lot of the time, they just haven't got to it yet and need a little nudge. Don't get me wrong, again, from the editor's perspective, don't go hounding editors, being like, why haven't you replied to me? Because that's not going to get you anywhere either. But, staying connected with people, being polite, and, and again, I think as you mentioned, being nice goes a really long way. In an industry where there's a lot of egos, being nice, being approachable, being known as the person that's really nice is definitely a good thing, and not the one that's known as being a bit of an a-hole.
Being responsive, I think, as well.
Absolutely.
So you're keeping somebody up to date with where you're at. If you're if you're struggling to meet a deadline because you've got some real shit that's happening, but
People are
also
human, people. A lot of people, especially in this industry, working to deadlines that they may or may not be able to make. People understand, but going cold, and it's definitely something that, as a very young music journalist, would be working right up to the minute, would sometimes miss deadlines and that kind of stuff, and it makes you look bad.
So what's your best tip then, Maya, for somebody who wants to get into the music industry or wants to make a full-time living? Obviously, you're now at PRS, which is a huge, very successful organisation which supports us all, which is amazing. Well done.
From a writer's perspective, I would absolutely say you need to build your portfolio by hook or by crook. Whether that means you're writing for free. I've written for magazines that don't even exist anymore. People would never thank God because my writing was probably bloody terrible. But, you have to just keep at it. As someone that has also hired staff writers, currently hiring a content editor for PRS, the first thing that I would look for, above the fact that someone got a writing or whatever, I want to see the kind of magazines that people have written for. It doesn't need to be, you know, War and Peace, but the fact that they are associated with certain magazines goes a long way, and that would be something that I'd look out for straight away, because it's like if a publication that's credible is willing to champion these writers, then, you know, that's, you know, a flag.
So it's putting yourself out there again, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Pushing forward and keep going.
Send emails, get in people's inbox, try and hook up with people. If you're at a gig and you recognise someone, go and say hi. It's really easy to be shy and just sort of stand at the bar a little bit awkwardly. Go to the gigs on your own as well, you know. Yeah, just get stuck in, basically. On a sort of wider industry type thing, I think it's do things that take you out of your comfort zone. You know, things that might seem absolutely terrifying, they're the kind of things that are going to open doors for you. It's really easy to just sort of sit behind a keyboard, but it's a really social industry, and you have to be putting yourself out there and getting involved where you can.
Right, Lena, what's your best tip?
I would say that, because everybody always says that, just be yourself. It's so hard to know how to be yourself, and that's something I've been exploring a lot last year. And I feel like, not only last year, like I think all my life, I've been trying to figure out who am I. But I think what more you do, and what more you're open for everything, you're open for every avenue. I was going to be an actress, and then I was like, end up in a studio pressing buttons. So it's like, you know, I never knew that was like an option for me to be a gig, but I'm totally a gig. And, you know, I was open for that change in myself. And I think also one way to learn who you are is to, well, firstly, be open for every opportunity that there is. Explore all the good, positive things about yourself. Think, are you a gig? Are you an open person? Are you social? What are you good at? And then implement those into the industry, because the music industry is not only a singer, only a music producer, only a producer, I don't even know, know all the jobs, but they're not just one job. Like personally, I would have probably like 5-6 titles if I would write them down, like everything I do right now, like freelance jobs and, you know, all freelance jobs that I do. And I think that is part of like who I am. And also starting to do my YouTube, I've started to see the response on how people react to me. Like the word I get a lot is cute, and I don't know how to take that still, but I think, but that made me process, like taking that feedback. It started to respond to me like, how can I make that special? Well, I can't pronounce anything. So that is my thing, and people find it funny. Okay, well, that is my thing then. I have videos where I have 5 minutes me trying to pronounce oscillator. Oh, I just said it. Yeah. but that's exactly like with kind of exploring these different opportunities and not taking yourself seriously and figure out like all your qualities. You start to find out who you are and what can you give to the industry. Why would someone hire you? Like nobody comes to hire you if they don't like what they have. So there's millions nice girls with good voice, but why are you like the best voice? Why is your voice the best? So it's like figuring out those qualities of yourself and exploring those and enhancing those even further.
So don't pigeonhole yourself. Basically get into everything. Work out what your strongest skills are, which you might not even realise until you're 50. I mean, that's the reality. It's an ongoing journey, isn't it? We're all changing, and the things we like change as we're getting older as well. I mean, I didn't start video editing until I was about 35. You know what I mean? It's just, and technology's changing, and it's like scary, isn't it, change? Am I the only one that's scared by change? It's really frightening. Yeah, sometimes it's like it can be a good thing and it can really challenge you and you can find something you really bloody love.
Well, I ended up being in UK. I went to a holiday and I was aiming to go to Australia for holiday. I suddenly I live in UK. Well, things happen. So I think that's like if you have that attitude of like towards life, you don't know where you can end up. And as long as that feels good and happy and you're happy with that, but I think if you decide I'm gonna be a singer, then that can limit yourself because you're not gonna become a singer because you have so much to give for so many other things, and also
Yeah.
you might find yourself in Finland. Who knows?
And especially when we're talking, coming back to making a full-time living, making it pay. Sometimes you might not make money out of like singing, but you might make money out of songwriting because you realise you've got a real knack for songwriting and you start working with other people. You might end up, working for PRS and then ending up like lecturing, or anything could happen if you are strong enough and knowledgeable in your field. So you gain that knowledge by being out there and seeing stuff and writing stuff and doing stuff, don't you?
Can I just add on the end of that? I know a lot of writers who want to be music journalists, are music journalists, but also have to make the money by doing things like copywriting. It's really, really, really common, and is also not something to be kind of like, to have, something like that.
So for those that don't know what copywriting, it's like writing
Oh, it
script
can be
for
all manner of
website and
things.
voiceovers and all sorts of stuff like that.
Lenore doing a Facebook ad, can you write the copy to make it sound like,
Punchy and
this
exciting.
intelligent is amazing kind of thing. But it pays really, really well, and you find that a lot of writers end up doing that kind of thing on the side of it because that's where the money is. And it's also, you're still perfecting a craft at the end of the day. But
Yeah.
you're just not writing about, the Scamanda or what have you.
Well, it's a hard thing turning for some of us. I turned a hobby into a full-time career, and it was, it's been a good decade and very exhausting, and it has very, very much highs and lows mentally as well. And I think, it's being aware of that, and it's not easy. I've survived by having some really good mates who understand what I'm about and don't think I'm an absolute mentalist, which helps. But it's not an easy path, but I think you have got to keep going and you keep learning and you keep changing. So, Lily, what's your best tip? I'm expecting a good one.
I was just thinking then, because I thought that might be coming.
Sorry, I'm so predictable. We'll come up with something more revolutionary next.
No, it's a good question because I was thinking like what's the thing that I've kind of like learned, and I think it's like a thing about fear and taking opportunities, like you mentioned before. Like I think everyone's mentioned it a bit. I think especially being a woman of colour in music, like you don't see a lot of people, especially making guitar music, you don't see a lot of people who look like you doing what you do, and it can be a bit scary to go into those spaces and not see anyone that looks like you. And you sort of start to think, am I able to do that? And it's about taking opportunities and thinking, okay, I might fail, I might embarrass myself. You probably won't because people are nice generally. I think so. You might not get the opportunity, but I think that the majority of the good things that have happened to me is because I've taken an opportunity that I didn't think I was capable of getting, and somehow I've managed to wangle my way into it. And I think that that's the main thing that I would sort of say is even if an opportunity doesn't seem like it's made for you, you don't feel like you're good enough for it. I just from personal experience, I started uni. I went to Leeds College of Music with the same year as Grace, and we all like. I was in the same band as Grace Kelly as well in the first year of uni, which is really nice. But I went in as a singer, and I had never written music before. I just did a bit of poetry and also sang. And I realised that I enjoyed writing way more, but I didn't think I could, so I got GarageBand and decided to teach myself to write. And then I got Logic, because GarageBand is quite similar to Logic. What I'm trying to say is that if you think that you can't do something, whether it be that you don't see someone who looks like you doing it, or whether you don't think that you have the capabilities because you've got something holding you back up here, which also I can relate to, and I'm sure many of you can, just go for it, because chances are at some point it's going to pull off, or if it doesn't, it'll just make you consider what you need to do next time. So that's what I'd say.
I think, I'm going to do this really empowering thing now. Like, you are good enough. You are enough, and you have the skills to go out there. And also, you have a room of like-minded people with you right now. Speak to the person next to you if they're not with you, because you never know who you're going to get talking to. Because we do, at BBC Introducing, we want more uploads from female musicians and those that identify as women. We want those uploads. And we are frustrated that people don't, it's almost like there's a barrier there, a confidence thing, or I don't know what it is, and we want to break it down, and we want to hear the music, because we can't play it on radio, and we can't talk about it, we can't write about it if we don't hear it. So I'm basically here to say, be kind to yourself. There is loads of skills. There's loads of people. We're really lucky. There's loads of organisations here, loads of great people, loads of great venues, loads of passionate people that will talk to you if you have any questions or anything like that. You know, me and Emily are here today from BBC Introducing West Yorkshire. We're here. We're sticking around, you know, for the most of the day. If you want to talk to us about anything, we're happy to. But who has been your biggest supporter? Because I know a lot of people. It's really hard if you're working on your own, and sometimes you feel like you're in a room on your own talking to yourself, like I do. Has there been anyone that's been really pivotal in your journey, that's been really supportive to you, or has really made a change for you?
I just a big shout out to Music Leeds actually for me, because they're an organisation that have given us so many opportunities. You can literally just like sign up for them, apply for it, and then they give you they've got recording opportunities, performance opportunities, and support. And we've been having mentoring with a Leeds record label, Clue Records, and it's been amazing, because like I think when you're getting started, like having someone to say this is the right thing to do, this is the wrong thing to do, or like just sometimes you need someone who knows what they're talking about to give you a bit more of not just support in terms of opportunities and funding, but just like a bit of guidance.
Yeah,
Exactly. Yeah. So I think get involved with opportunities like them, because Music Leads have really given us some good stuff.
So, I mean, from a radio perspective, I work for Amazing Radio and both for BBC Introducing. You don't need a radio plugger. You don't need a load of money. You can get your music online just by uploading to those websites, and people will hear it. Amazing Radio, the head of BT Music is one of the presenters, so you never know who else is going to hear your music, and it doesn't cost you anything. But I think it's also about having a bit of if you are a musician, having a bit of a plan. Like if you've got a release, if you're working towards a special gig that you're putting together to celebrate that release, if you got a little social media strategy, you're making a video, it's like all those things kind of go together. You need to have a little bit of a plan. I know it's boring, but you have to have a bit of a business mind. But the things that Music Leads do, and there are a couple of people that work for Music Leads here today, so I'm sure they will wave if they want to be.
They're really nice people.
They are lovely. They're both there. I didn't want to name you in case you didn't want. But basically, there are a wonderful array of things on offer. Not just Music Leads being an information source to show you exactly what is happening, any forums, any meetings, anything like that. They also do a mentoring program. They also give you opportunities for funding for releases. They have an incredible Launchpad program as well. It's a wonderful organisation, and all the information is on the website. I think it's musicleads.co.uk, is it? Or is it a com? .com. Musicleads.com. If you haven't checked it out, go and have a look, because they're involved in so many different things, and I think you're right, it's absolutely essential. And if you need that advice, they're always there. They're just
most of us don't know what we're doing. Like I think, especially at the start, like
speak for yourself.
I mean, people who are like really at the start, like me, just like have no idea what to do. But you just find the right team, definitely. Like get good people around you.
What about you, Lena? Who's been your biggest support? Anyone that's really made a change in your journey, like giving you an opportunity or something like that?
I think there was two things that I could say. Is Yorkshire Sound Women? Absolutely. So even though, because I feel like as much as I can help and encourage women to get into music production, they are encouraging me as a music producer. And I just graduated a year ago from York University with a master's degree in music production. And since then, they've been my rock in Yorkshire, trying to like encourage, give me opportunities, not only as a music producer, but also educator, to help me to meet other like-minded people like Emily, who is there in Yorkshire Sound Women stand.
Yay, over in the back.
Yeah, over in the back. And then I would say another thing, because we were talking about people just being nice. I think another thing is other women in music industry, they being the people, the rock and the heart in my career. Like every person that I've been working with, and I found this collection of amazing people, and I hope to kind of continue and expand that collection of people in my like in the next years and all the way, because I feel that there's this, because women are such a minority, and especially in audio, women are even more of a minority in such an extent that women can get quite mean when they feel like they want to be the only good one, because there's only opportunity to one. They're threatened, and I would say that I would say that it's important to keep on supporting your fellow women, and I think those women have been the most important thing in my journey this far.
I read a very interesting article the other day that said there are so few women in the music industry that it is a dog-eat-dog industry anyway, but there's so few women that almost when you come across another woman in the industry, you're automatically like competition.
Like you walk
But we're
into-
not.
yeah.
We're not. Everybody has a different path. We're all going to get to different places. We might even have different goals, but we really need to try and break that down and work to support each other, because I'm telling you, the guys aren't doing that. They're just
Oh, they have men's club, they have boys club, and
boys
then
club
what you
support
need
one
to start
another.
it, the girls
Yeah,
club.
yeah.
So when you see
Girls club, let's get it going.
but when you see like example, you walk into music studio and there's another woman there, don't look up and down. Go and hug that person straight away, and just like straight away give that person support, because that's what we need. We need to support each other, and you know that's helped me this far, and that's like I think that's what all of us we just need to stop being jealous. Honestly, I think that's one
Stop
of the
competing against
stop
one another.
competing,
Stop
but
comparing
I think it's
yourself
like
to each other.
I know we all can feel jealous
I'm as bad.
sometimes, but it's a good quality. Start trying to learn not to be jealous.
I think
Because
that's a real
yeah.
lesson. Don't compare yourself to anybody else, and we're terrible at that on social media. I know we are, and don't compete with anybody else, because it's only going to end up badly, isn't it? So, good lesson there, maybe. I think. What about you, Maya? Who's made a massive difference for you in your career?
It's funny, my friend sat right there and she looked at me like, say me. I think, well, I've had some amazing editors over the years, and it's funny you should talk about the way that women are with one another. I've had all of the editors that have been the nicest to me have been women, and all the editors that have been the meanest to me have been women as well. So some of the most kind of scathing responses you'll get to a pitch can often be from women that can be quite brutal. And you must never respond with a brutal response back to them.
Well, it doesn't mean you need to respond straight away.
No.
Sleep on it. I sometimes
Think
find is the
about it.
best answer.
But editors that have responded with good constructive feedback, rather than just either not commissioning it or changing your article for you and not showing you where they've made the changes, that's really, really helpful. Learning from someone who is clearly, at that point excelling massively in their career. But I've also been given, when I was 19, I went to New York for a couple of months to work for a magazine called Impose Magazine, actually working with a bunch of guys who were all lovely. But they took a massive chance on me. I've had some experience, but like not, my writing wasn't that good, I don't think. I just said, can I come over and work with you for a couple of months? And they said, yeah, and it turned out I became the UK correspondent when I came back to London, and yeah, that was a pretty massive thing for me. It also looks good, doesn't it? If you whack that on the
Really
CV.
good.
Still on there, however many years later. So
Work that CV.
People taking a chance on you, even though you might not be the most amazing at the time.
Okay, and over to you, Grace.
I was going to say my mum and my dad, but I feel like...
That's completely legit.
Yeah.
No, that's a great place to go into questions as well, because they're brilliant, clearly.
Yeah, well, just like, because I think when you say you're going to go into a creative industry, depending on like your parents' upbringing, like my parents are from like a very working class background, for me to then say, oh, I'm going to go into music where I could like not get paid at all, like they've been really supportive of that. They've just been like, you know what, just do what you have to do. And when I'm just like couch surfing and getting the megabus everywhere, they're just like, yeah, they're not like pushing me to get a full-time job working at Grrls or something. Like they're just like, do what you have to do, like, and you can always come back home if you need somewhere to sleep and be fed.
Cheap steak bakes, though.
Yeah.
Veggie sausage roll.
But as well, I have to give obviously like Monomyth Records a big shout out for Venus in particular, because they've been able to like when our car's broken down or if we've not been able to get a gig, Bob Brazil's been really helpful and giving us like just that extra push and if just like extra opportunities as well, like just networking especially, and obviously the people who support your music too, like who are commenting online and like coming buying your merch and talking to you, definitely them.
I think we've got some time for questions. I'm waiting for Tony, but he's eating a sandwich. We've got no time for questions. 2 questions. 2 minutes. Any burning questions? We will be around. You can ask us personally if you need to check in with anything, but if there's any burning questions, don't be shy. Feel free. We've got time for 2. Usually. Okay, over there. What do you reckon, guys?
I have two places that I would go for. Is Female Frequency email list. If anything about to do with mixing tracks, songwriting, anything to do with audio type of site. Also, Facebook group Bossy. They are absolutely amazing group of women who do respond like this. Like when you ask for feedback, Bossy people will answer. So
How do we spell that?
BOSSY, Bossy, buzz with B, Bossy. That's my B, no P. Female Frequency, female and then double dot and then frequency. If you Google that, that's also a database of thousands and hundreds of women in all around world working in music and audio. And it started from Germany, and they are getting bigger and bigger. And it's mainly people in music production and audio, but still songwriting as well.
I was just going to say as well, it depends how fully formed your music is and like what stage it's at, but Submit Hub is also pretty good for stuff like that. So it was created by the guy that runs Indie Shuffle, I'm pretty sure, and basically you may need to pay a little bit, but it's only like a couple quid, and your track then gets sent out to, you get to choose the blogs that it goes out to, and then to earn money, the platform has to give you some honest feedback, and the platform gets judged on how good their feedback is, basically. So they can't just be like, didn't like it, they have to be honest about it, and it has to be constructive.
I've been told we have time for one small question. Does anyone have a small one? Okay. I can give a little bit of an insight, but I think Lena wants to. Do you know there's scheduling apps available? Like Facebook, you can go on and schedule, and on Twitter, you can use TweetDeck to schedule. And I think there's one called later.com that allows you to schedule on Instagram. If you find it really debilitating, I would say take it off your phone and actually just schedule time in the week where you take a chunk of time to do it and you just get it done and you step away. That would cover Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. So later.com's for Instagram. TweetDeck allows you to schedule unlimited on Twitter, and Facebook allows you in the publishing tools to schedule Facebook posts as well. Yeah, I think there's a number of different platforms you can use that will allow you, if you just want to go in and you know it's a necessary even you need to do it, won't help you engage, but you'll have to manually go in. But Lena, any small quick tips?
My tip is, as soon as I started to treat it as a business and as an entrepreneur business, make a business plan, I made literally a business plan of, this is not me, this is my image, this is who I am on a paper, this is not my personal account, nothing personal goes there, that's my business account. So even though it's pictures of me in my studio and me with my equipment, it's still my image and it's still who I am. That's my YouTube, that's my Instagram, my Twitter, but that's my business. So I run my social image, the social media image as a business, and that's also how it started to be also fun for me, because then you can be like, what do I want to be? So that takes away from me the mental strength, like the mental I don't.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I think it's like when we were talking about who you are and who people want to see authenticity in social media, and in your business plan you should write down what are your authenticity traits. So mine is that I can pronounce it. So example, that is what I feed with. So, example, that is authenticity. And I put a couple of videos where I can't pronounce things, and people are like, yeah, more. And that's, that doesn't then take away from, my mental health, because that's who I am. But then at the same time, that's the business.
We are out of time, I'm afraid. But if in doubt, there's always memes and GIFs. Anything can be solved by just posting a GIF.
That's
You
what
don't
I
have
was
to
gonna
give
say.
too much away.
Our Instagram is just memes.
It's possible. Feel free to pick our brains. Put your hands together for our incredible panel. Well done. Stick around. We've got more coming up. We've got selection panel, imposter syndrome coming up as well. We'll be back very shortly.
Oh, my workshop. Yeah. Do you want to come to my workshop? My workshop is I have 2 Ableton Live pushes. You do not need to know anything about music production, anything about computers, anything about anything, to be honest.